Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our webinar today on exploring myRA, My Retirement Account, as a savings option. My name is Michael Rausch, and I'm the Director of the Real Economic Impact Network at the National Disability Institute. And today I will serve as our moderator for this webinar. I would like to give a special thank you to our sponsor, Bank of America, who's been a longtime sponsor of the Real Economic Impact Network and our work at the National Disability Institute to build a better economic future for individuals with disabilities. Before we get started, I would like to turn it over to my colleague, Nakia Matthews, who will go over our housekeeping tips. Nakia?
Thank you, Michael, and good afternoon, everyone. The audio for today's webinar is being broadcast through your computer. Please make sure that your speakers are turned on or you have headphones plugged in. You can control the audio via the audio broadcast panel, which you see below here. If you accidentally close the audio broadcast panel or if your sound stops, you can easily reopen the audio broadcast by going to Communicate menu at the top of your screen and choosing Audio Broadcast. If you do not have sound capabilities on your computer, or if you prefer to listen to the webinar by phone, you may do so by dialing the toll or toll-free number you see here and entering the meeting code. Please note you do not need to enter an attendee ID, and I will also paste this number into the chat box shortly. Real-time captioning is provided during this webinar. The captions can be found in the Media Viewer panel, which appears in the lower right-hand portion of the webinar platform. If you do not see the captions, you may need to open the Media Viewer panel, and you can do so by clicking the Media Viewer button in the upper right-hand corner of the webinar platform. If you would like to make the Media Viewer panel larger, you can do so by closing some of the other panels like Q&A or chat. And conversely, if you do not need to see the captions, you can go ahead and close down the Media Viewer panel. I will also paste into the chat box a link for the captions if you would prefer to view them in a web browser. We will have some time for questions at the end of the webinar. Please use the Q&A box to send any questions that you may have to us, and we will direct those accordingly to our speakers. If you are listening by phone only and not logged into the web portion, you can submit your questions to Michael directly by emailing him at mroush, and that's R-O-U-S-H, at ndi-inc.org. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and that the materials will be placed on our website within about a week. Finally, if you experience any technical difficulty during this webinar, please use the chat box to send a message to me, NDI admin, or you may also email me directly at nmatthews@ndi-inc.org. And with that, I will turn it back over to Michael.
Great. Thank you, Nakia. Before we get into our main presentation, for those of you who are new to the National Disability Institute, I would like to share with you a little bit of information about our organization. The National Disability Institute is a nonprofit organization where our mission is to drive social impact to build a better economic future for people with disabilities and their families. At the National Disability Institute, we have the Real Economic Impact Network. If you're not a member of the network, we hope that you will join us. The Real Economic Impact Network is an alliance of organizations and individuals dedicated to advancing the economic empowerment of people with disabilities. The network consists of more than 4,500 members located throughout the United States. That includes nonprofits, community tax coalitions, asset development organizations, financial education initiatives, corporations and private sector businesses, federal, state, local governments, and agencies, as well as individuals and their families with disabilities. All partners are joining forces to embrace, promote, and pursue access to and the inclusion of people with disabilities in the economic mainstream. To learn more about the Real Economic Impact Network, please go to our website at www.realeconomicimpact.org. And when you go to the homepage, you'll see the link on the right-hand side on how to sign up and join the Real Economic Impact Network, as it is a free network to join. So today's presentation is looking at savings options, particularly looking at retirement savings options for individuals. And one of those particular tools that can assist individuals with savings for retirement is myRA, standing for My Retirement Account. So today, we're fortunate to have Angie Lingle, who's the relationship manager for the myRA program. She's involved in the employer engagement and outreach and with the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. So Angie will be sharing with us some information on myRA, giving us a background, how to access it. And then after Angie is done presenting, we have my colleague here at the National Disability Institute, Kevin Nickerson, who's going to share with us some information or some things we need to keep in mind if we are receiving a public benefit that has a resource limit attached to it. And so he's going to provide us some information on that, as well as some options for us to look at and consider. Saving for retirement is very important, so this is definitely a timely conversation for us to have, particularly as we are rolling into the tax season coming up in January. So to get us started, I would like to turn it over again to Angie Lingle, who is going to share with us some more information on myRA. Angie, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Michael. I want to thank everyone for having me here today. I have a really exciting program to tell you all about, My Retirement Account. It really is an easy way to take that first step and start saving for your retirement. I do want to tell you a little bit about my role as a relationship manager. I work with anywhere from employers to influencers, and an influencer can be someone at a tax prep site, an asset building coalition, really anyone that could come in contact with someone that might benefit from the use and participation in the myRA program. You know, we have so many great people that we work with. It's so rewarding to sit back and really listen to the stories and share the stories, you know, share those success stories with other organizations and other employers, and really kind of work with them. And I work on a team, and we all sit back and we all talk about what's worked, what hasn't worked. And, you know, so when someone works with our office or works with another relationship manager or myself, you really have that personal connection. You have the experience that we can pull in from our time on the program and really help make the rollout of myRA a success within your organization. So today we're going to cover retirement savings challenges. So, you know, kind of the reasons why myRA was developed, myRA as the solution to those challenges, who's it for, what is it, and then most importantly, how to get involved with the program. So the main reason why the program that was developed, because millions are not saving enough for retirement. So you can see on the picture here, 31% at retirement age have no retirement savings, and that is pretty scary. That's a pretty large number, and that's something that we really, it's an issue that we need to address. It's something that we really need to take some steps into the right direction to get that number decreased. So we want, you know, we don't want that to be such a high number. Obviously, there's a lot of great savings options out there, and you're going to find out that myRA is one that can definitely fit into what you all talk to with your networks and different places that you come in contact with. One of the biggest reasons why that number is so high is because many people lack access to a retirement plan at work. So if you sit back and you think about, well, how was retirement introduced to me? How was it, when was the first time it came to my mind? Well, that was probably when we all went, to our first job or to our employer, and they sat down with us with that new employee packet and they said, okay, well, here's your retirement option. But there's 1 out of every 3 private industry workers that don't have access, and it could be because they're part-time, they're seasonal, it could be the type of industry that they work in, or it could be the fact that they work for a smaller employer and a 401k is too expensive sometimes for a smaller employer to establish, although they may want to, they just don't have the financial funds to do that. So, like I said, going back to that first introduction to a retirement program, a lot of people just don't get that anymore. So then we sat back and we said, okay, what are some of those barriers? And then one thing that I'm really proud of about the program and I'm proud to kind of provide within the background is a lot of thought went into this. We really sat back and we said, why aren't people saving for retirement? And some of those reasons include, the first one here is the cost and fees of opening and maintaining a retirement account. So sometimes in the private sector, there are, quarterly fees to have a retirement account. There might be monthly fees, yearly fees. A lot of times there may be an initial startup fee. And all of those things to someone who's just scraping together enough to kind of make that first step, all of those are really kind of a barrier. It's just another reason not to take the step. As you can see, the second one kind of goes with it. And a lot of us can think of it as a good thing, but it's also to someone else the difficulty in making choices among savings options. Too many options are often not a good thing. When we sit back and someone doesn't know the difference between a stock and a bond and a mutual fund and different types of equities, it's very overwhelming. And then someone gets in the mind that, this maybe isn't for me. I'm not smart enough to save. And that's not at all the case. The third is probably one that I hear the most. It's concerns about losing money. Even those of us who are not financially savvy know what happened in 2008. They know that people lost a lot of money. People that were on the verge of retirement, have to work for another couple years. So that is one of the biggest concerns that I get. And then the fourth is the need to access funds for unexpected expenses or emergencies. My common example right now is, when I woke up this morning, it was 19 degrees and the house was a little chilly. And if I go to my thermostat and I hit the up, the heater button and nothing happens, I need to know that I can go to my myRA account and I can pull out that money and I can get my heater fixed, because life happens, emergencies happen, and people need to know that they can get access to those funds. And there are some accounts out there that once you kind of make that initial investment, that money's tied up until you're of a retirement age. So those are the major concerns and the major barriers that we identified as reasons that people weren't taking that first step. So here the Treasury came up with a great program, the My Retirement Account, myRA. It was really developed to make saving for the future easy. And it helps people take that step towards a more secure retirement in a way that's simple, safe, and affordable. And those are, 3 themes that you're going to see along the slide deck here. You're going to see it later when you go to the website. You're going to see it within our materials and our resources on the website. You're going to see this theme as you go out and take that step to enroll into a myRA account. We really have worked very hard to make this a simple, safe, and affordable option for people. So who can benefit from myRA? So obviously, as I discussed earlier, it's people who don't have access to a retirement savings plan at work. the myRA program was not designed to take the place of any retirement account. This was really designed for those people that don't have access. It's, just getting those people that never thought that they would be able to join the retirement world to take that first step. It's also for people who want to save but haven't found that easy way. So many of us say, well, yeah, I want to save, but I don't know anyone I don't know a stockbroker, it's just such an easy way, to get started. And then the last is for people who earn an annual income below $132,000 if single, or below $194,000 if married, filing jointly. So those are some pretty decent income brackets to fall between. And most people that we all deal with on a daily basis are gonna kind of fall within those brackets. And it just really shows how broad the program could reach. One thing that I wanted to point out is that myRA is a Roth IRA. So, you're going to see some of the same features. There's only really a few differences per se between a traditional Roth IRA and a myRA account. The first is that a myRA is invested in the United States Treasury Savings Bond. And that is the only investment type. So going back to that barrier of too many investment options, so there are no options. This is what you're invested in, and it's just, one simple investment. And it's just a great way for, people not even to have to worry about, do I choose A or B or C? So it's a really simple option. Going again with the Roth features and the Roth guidelines, the contributions are made after tax. So that's really good to know because savers can take out what they put in their contributions without tax or penalty. So going back to that example of I need that money, an emergency just happened, I need to be able to get to it, I can have access, to all my contributions without tax and penalty. That's really huge. Again, going with the Roth guidelines, savers may contribute a maximum of $5,500 or $6,500 if you're 50 or older. So those follow the standard Roth guidelines. One thing about the myRA, it is a starter retirement savings account. So savers can choose to transfer or roll over their money to the private sector Roth at any time. Now, I will say again, going with the fact that it is a starter retirement account, at $15,000 or 30 years, the account will have to be transferred into the private sector. And the reason, so the 30 years is because going back to the investment, it is a savings bond, and that is the life of a savings bond is 30 years. And the $15,000, again, really kind of goes back to some research. We sat down with some of the financial world, and we said, what's a good amount that you all welcome someone to come in your office? It's a good amount to get them started, to get them diversified, and really kind of start having their money grow for them. And we came upon that 15,000 number. And then the last one is the income limits. So again, that was 132 if single, 194 if married, filing jointly. And then we do have a link to our Roth page if you have any other Roth questions. But there's so many great things out there, and I just want you all to kind of know it is a Roth, it is a starter retirement account, so it's just another great option for you. So going back to our simple, safe, and affordable, just kind of breaking it down for you. So it's simple. We can set up automatic contributions, which we all know that that's the most successful means of saving in any any way that we save is anytime we can set it and forget it is just amazing. There's no manual effort behind it, so there's much more success in that. Another great feature is if changing jobs, the account stays with the saver. So kind of going back to that small, the example I use here is, maybe I work for a small business and Bob's Deli, my example, may have introduced the program to me, and that's the job I had when I first started making my contributions. But since I've graduated from college and maybe moved on, and I don't work with Bob anymore, and but the account is mine. So although I started it while I was working at Bob's Deli. The account's mine. It's with me to go wherever I want to go. So that's another great feature. Sometimes people are afraid it's linked to something or an employer, so that's really important to know. And again, the ability to withdraw the money that you put in without tax and penalty, all falls within those safe kind of parameters. Excuse me, simple. So going over to safe, there's no risk of losing money. This is very big in today's world. The investment is backed by the U.S. Treasury. So you can just safely watch your money grow. You know you're never going to lose money. So it's really just nice to know that I can sit back, I can put my money in, I know I'm just going to get my compound interest, and I don't have to worry about ever losing it. The market can do what it wants to do, and I'm good. I'm good to go. Going to the affordable category, there are no costs to open, no fees. Really, really good to know. There's also no minimums. A lot of times there's a minimum to start up a private sector account, say $2,000 to open up the account, along with a $50 quarterly fee. None of that is on a myRA account. So that's really good to know, especially to those first-time savers. Those people that have really kind of just taken this first step. They're scared and they've kind of worked their numbers and they've realized, you know what, I'm going to do this. And it's really good to know that their money isn't going to go towards a fee or it isn't going to go towards something else, and that money is going to be invested for their future. Another great feature that I like is that savers can choose how much they want to save. So maybe that's $2, $20, $200. It really is whatever fits their budget. So if they can only afford to do $2 per pay period, that's what they can do. And it's just a great feeling knowing that they've taken that step. So that's a huge, huge bonus as we talk to consumers, is that they have the flexibility to pick and choose that amount. And then, of course, with it being a Roth, that there are certain tax advantages of a Roth, and that those account owners could potentially take advantage of those. And that will vary on an account-by-account basis. And it's something that we have a link on the site that they can further explore that option, or they can talk to their tax preparer. So there are 3 ways to save. The first is from your paycheck, and obviously that is one of our most successful means, because again, it kind of goes to that set it and forget it. Once you would determine the amount that you want to start saving, you would just get the direct deposit form to your employer, and they're going to start processing that amount. So that is a great way. The second way is from your checking or savings account. This is a great option for people that maybe their employer doesn't have direct deposits, they might be self-employed, or maybe they just want everything to go out of their checking or savings account. So it's another great option. And if they're using that option, we definitely want to encourage also that set it and forget it. Set it up on a monthly basis or a weekly basis, and it really just makes things so easy and just really kind of flows much quicker. And then the third is one effort and one means of contributing to your myRA account that we're really concentrating on right now is from your federal tax refund. You can take a portion of your tax refund and put it into your myRA account, and that would just be Form 8888. As you break out your refund, you would just indicate your routing number and account number, and a portion of your refund gets put into your myRA account. So with these 3 ways, a saver has the ability, again, to make it their own, to kind of take that step back and say, can I only contribute at payday? Can I only contribute at tax time? Can I do a combination? It goes to the flexibility of the account. It goes to that saver being able to really own the account and make it their own. And that's really important, and that's a really good feeling for someone to know that they have the control over their account and have the ability to work for them. So as I mentioned earlier, I want to encourage everyone to go out to myRA.gov. It is a very easy site to navigate. As you can see here up at the top, we have messages for employers, partners, news and media. We have some great testimonials out there if you want to take a look at those. There is that savings calculator out there. There's just a lot of great features that first off explain the program. They help you get additional resources if you need different ways of presenting the information. On the partner page, there's a lot of really great turnkey resources that you can download and start sharing immediately. So those are, a lot of really great features. We've gotten a lot of compliments on the website as the ease of it, and it's something that we've really concentrated on. So going back to what I was saying about tax time, so obviously tax time is a great time to save. For a lot of people, it's the only time that they talk about and think about their financial well-being. So it's a major financial event, and as you can see here, the stats from the IRS, the average refund is $2,732. So it really is a great time to kind of put the information in front of a saver and really tell them about it, get their mind thinking in that realm. And, I can say from a lot of VITA sites that I've already worked with this season, they've done a lot of research with their own clients, and they say a lot of people, before they even walk in the door, they know they want to start saving. So now you're just presenting them with a viable option. So that's really good to know. So how can we all help tax filers? Obviously educating them on myRA, encouraging them to take that step. There's the potential of the saver's tax credit. Again, if eligible, you would want to just make sure that you do fall into the eligibility of that. So there's just so many great ways that you can do that, and just be that conduit. Just be, and maybe this might be the first time that someone's ever talked to that person or that consumer about saving for retirement, and you can just share the program with them in a very easy manner and just start educating. A lot of times, and I think we all know this, that education is one of the biggest issues as far as the financial world in the United States. The lack of financial education is it's a pretty big problem, and sometimes people, we don't know what we don't know. So I think we've laid the program out in a very simple way that anyone can really sit down and kind of understand it and make that decision. And so within the website, we do also have a tax pro page, myra.gov/taxpro. And this is some, going back to those resources I was telling you about, this is a great page that is full of resources specially designed for tax professionals. So if you're someone that sits down, maybe you're in charge of a VITA site, maybe you're just an individual tax preparer, there's a lot of really good resources out here, resources that you can have in your office, that you can put on your website. Maybe you do mailings to your clients. There's just so many great resources. You can just download, click them, print them out, and take that first step. So there's a lot of great resources out there. I encourage you first to go out to the main page, go out to the Tax Pro page, and you really will see that simple theme go throughout all of that. And I also want to tell you, it's the new thing the last couple of years, let's get social. So we have a YouTube channel. We have Facebook and Twitter. Just go out there and take a look. We're always looking for different things, different ways to get connected with people and different groups. So we want to encourage you to take a look at all of our great social media parts within the myRA program and really see if something would help or something that might call out to you. I do also want to say within any of your callings or with any of your mentionings, there are a lot of pre-populated turnkey resources on the website, as I mentioned, to include social posts. So if we get done with the webinar and you've gone out the rest of the afternoon kind of taken a few minutes, went out to the website and you're like, you know what, this really is a good option. I have a lot of people that could potentially benefit from the program. I'm going to go out there and tweet, or I'm going to go out there and put something on my Facebook page. There are pre-populated tweets and posts already out there. So like I said, a lot of really good resources on the site. So you know, for all of us, I really want to challenge us to take a look at who we talk to on a daily basis. It may be your teenage child. It may be, you know, you have a best friend who owns a small business. It may be your church. It may be the fact that you're a tax preparer. It could be someone that helps, you know, financial management. You know, there's so many great organizations out there that touch so many people, and I really challenge you to sit back and think of who you could touch. Who could you tell about the program? Who could you say, hey, I heard about this program. I think you might benefit. Take a look. It takes 10 minutes to sign up online. It's so easy. I really encourage you and challenge you to kind of put that hat on and think about those people. If you have any questions, our phone number into my office is located on this slide with our email address, and me or anyone on my team would be able to help you. We are excited and always looking forward to helping people. So reach out, go to the website, and really think of who you could help. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Angie. This is a lot of great information here. We do have several questions that have come in, but before we get into our questions, I would like to turn it over to my colleague Kevin Nickerson, who's the co-director of the American Dream Employment Network here at the National Disability Institute. And now that we've learned about the savings option, saving for retirement, for some individuals who are receiving a public benefit that has a resource limit attached to it, there's some things that we need to know about. And so Kevin is going to share with us some additional pieces for us to keep in mind, and also share with us some additional savings options that an individual might be able to access. So with that, Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Excellent. Thanks, Michael, and really appreciate the folks that are on the line today listening in. You know, Angie, I wish it was as simple, because I thought what you presented was really a simple process to get people started in savings. And I wish public benefit programs were just as simple to understand. Unfortunately, that is not the case. And I don't plan to train today on all the nuances of public benefits, but I thought there were some key things that folks should understand about key benefits that I thought would be of interest to this audience. So I thought I'd start with Social Security. There's really two primary benefits we focus on, disability and SSDI, I should say, Social Security Disability Insurance. And I thought I'd start with good news, and the good news is if folks receive SSDI benefits, there is no resource test. And this is something that we get questioned on quite a bit. But the reason there's no resource limit for disability benefits is that folks have become entitled to this, and if they need it because they have a disability, they have insured status, and we all get insured status through our work history. So if we have enough work history, we can get insured status and be eligible for this benefit. Therefore, there is no need for a resource test because we earn it. SSI is a little different because it is a needs-based program. This is, for example, and this program came out much later than disability, by the way. I think it was 1974 that this came out, when we figured out basically that some people who are born with a disability aren't going to get that chance to develop the work history. So we have this needs-based program called Supplemental Security Income. It is based on a disability as well. There is a resource test. And basically the way Social Security looks at resources is that they are any liquid assets that can, or real property that can be turned into cash that could be used to provide food, shelter, or clothing. Generally, Social Security looks at income, you know, the month it's received, and if it's not spent, then the following month it could be viewed as a resource. There are some exceptions to the rule. I'm going to give you just a few exceptions to the resource test on the next slide, not to get into too much detail, but I thought there were some things that would be important to discuss. So generally, though, what you need to understand is this. If people receive SSI, there's a $2,000 resource limit for individuals. There's a $3,000 resource limit for eligible couples. And this goes way back to '89. I had to look that up. I knew it was a long time ago this was established. And I know you're probably thinking, well, that's not realistic in today's dollars, is it? And I would agree with that. So it's kind of a tough spot folks are in if they do receive SSI. However, there are some exceptions to this resource rule. And believe it or not, the top on the list is a home, which is the biggest resource probably any of us will achieve in our lifetimes. And people that receive SSI can own a home. And you might say, well, that doesn't seem practical. If someone's receiving SSI, they don't have enough money to buy a home. But that's not always true. People are working that receive SSI. And certainly I've known many people that have had home ownership as a goal that they've achieved. So if you live in that home, regardless of value, it doesn't count. A vehicle, one vehicle, if it's used for transportation needs of the person that receives the SSI, won't count. That's something in my career years I've been doing this that has changed, actually. It used to be that one vehicle would count against the person and up to a certain value. So that's been a positive change in, say, the last 10 years. For folks who do own a business, there's another rule that Social Security, another incentive they call property essential self-support, so that some of the property that you would own as a part of that business can be excluded because it's necessary to keep making money in that business. Additional incentives, such as a plan to achieve self-support, is another way for people to put money away that will not count as a resource. Now, that has to be used for a specific vocational goal, but can be an effective tool for people to save money and get around this $2,000 or $3,000 resource limit. People can own a burial fund. There's the amounts I gave you. And the earned income tax credits, and this is important to know that we encourage people to apply for, will not count for 12 months now. And this is according to an IRS ruling, and I've given you the link there if you want to learn more about that. If you really have trouble sleeping at night, you can check out the PALM citation that I've given you at the bottom of this slide, and that goes right to Social Security's policy if you wanted to read more about exemptions, et cetera, from the resource test. Now, I didn't mention here, but I want to, that when we talk about retirement savings in terms of SSI, generally what Social Security will say is if you have access to that, they will count what you have access to minus the penalties as the amount of resources that you have. So that's unfortunate, but that's the way that works. So, that's why we talk about these exemptions, and these are things that you really need to understand. Now, there are plenty of other means-tested programs in our country. Medicaid is another example that we should discuss just a little, and it's hard to discuss this because it really varies by state. But generally speaking, what I wanted to tell you is that in most states, if somebody's eligible for SSI, they would then be eligible for Medicaid. I'm kind of looking at this through the lens of somebody that might have a disability. Again, there's a lot of varying rules from state to state. SNAP is another benefit that probably comes to mind when we think about resources and how this can be impacted if we save money and so forth. And as a general rule, what you see in front of you here is that households can have some resources, not a lot. It's up to $2,250 in countable resources, and generally they're going to look at bank accounts, or $3,250 if the person is 60 or older or is disabled. And also for SNAP, just like there's always exceptions to every rule, there's an exception to this rule. There are certain resources that won't count. So now this comes back to the home again. If you own a home and you're living in it, that wouldn't count. And the good news here is most retirement accounts are not going to be included, so that's good. I did a little digging, and I found on the CFED website that they have this scorecard, I guess they call it, and it does provide different asset limit information for certain benefit programs you find useful. It does compare by state the resource limits and the other benefits such as TANF, SNAP, and the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program. So that might be worth a look if you are interested in more information about resources. Last but not least, I wanted to leave with some good news, too, that we have now something called the ABLE Act, which stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. And this is fairly new law that was signed into existence in December 2014. And it allows people with disabilities who have a disability prior to age 26 to save up to $100,000 that won't count as a resource. So this might be another vehicle for some folks that are maybe having to deal with some of the means-tested programs that I talked about. We have a great site for you to review that gives a lot of information about ABLE and how this works and what states this is available in at the link I provided here below, www.ablenrc.org. And so, you know, this is just a quick snapshot of some programs. Obviously, there's lots of other questions and concerns that could come up, but I hope this helps to frame a little bit around resources for certain benefits. And with that, I'll turn back to Michael to see if there's any questions.
Great, thank you, Kevin. Great information to share with us and to keep in mind. You know, one of the things why we really wanted to bring this myRA to the table is for our webinar series is that, you know, at the National Disability Institute, we serve individuals with disabilities across the spectrum. And the Real Economic Impact Network members are made up of disability as well as asset building partners, financial service partners, tax coalitions, et cetera. And one of the questions that we get oftentimes out in the field are about savings options. But also, we get questions from partners who may not be part of the disability community who think that all persons with disabilities receive a public benefit, and that's not the case. So also, not all individuals with a disability, as I mentioned, receive a public benefit, and those individuals that do receive a public benefit, not all of them receive one that has a resource limit attached to it, like Kevin mentioned, SSDI. And so we share this because we want to make sure that our network and our field has a variety of options and tools to be able to serve the diverse audience that you serve. But it is important to make sure that if you are working with an individual who's receiving a public benefit, that you know which public benefit they are receiving and the rules attached to it, just to make sure which options to guide them to. So just wanted to add that because I know sometimes questions come in of why are you sharing something that somebody may not be able to use if they're receiving a resource limit. Again, not everybody is receiving a public benefit with a disability that has a resource limit attached to it. So we have several questions here, and I hope we can get through as many as we can. The first question that's coming in is, Angie, this one will be directed to you. Let me just turn this. Can an individual use myRA and also their program from their employer if savings behavior is a challenge for them? So I think the question's coming in asking, if an individual really wants to establish a savings behavior and they're using their employer program, can they still access myRA as an additional savings option?
Yes. We do want to, you can use it as an alternative or another option, but we do want to encourage you, if you have the option to participate in an employer-sponsored plan, to take advantage of that first, because there could be some additional benefits of participating in that plan that may include, and these are all, generalizations because I don't know every employer's options out there. So, but a lot of times that kind of encompasses a matching contribution. So we want you to first take full advantage of that, and then if you want to still do something as a supplement, the program is out there as a great option. Another thing I want to point out, if you would have more than one retirement plan, you just need to please be cognizant of the types of plans. Going back to that annual limit of $5,500 or $6,500 if you're older, you do want to respect that limit. And if you would have a myRA account and you're also contributing to another Roth IRA, you would just want to make sure that your contributions don't exceed that maximum yearly limit. So yes, on both, you can have, it can be used as a supplement. We definitely want to encourage you to participate in that employer-sponsored plan first, take full advantage of anything that they may offer, but absolutely it can be used as a supplement.
Great, thank you. So Kevin, the next question that came in I think would be directed to you, and Angie, feel free to jump in here. But the question is, can I use money from my SSDI check to put into myRA? So Kevin, could you address that?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I see no, I mean, the short answer is I don't see any problem with that at all. That money is not encumbered in any way except for the way you want it to be. And as I said, with disability, Social Security disability insurance specifically, the good news is there's no resource test at all for that program because it's based on entitlement and your work history.
And I might need to add to that. So the myRA program is a Roth, and a Roth does have to be earned income. So as long, I think that that would be true as long as you had earned income in addition to that. So following the Roth guidelines for a myRA account does have to be earned income. And that may be getting into the technicalities of what that income is considered, but a Roth does need to be earned income.
I'm glad you clarified that, Angie. That was needed.
Yeah, that was really good. At being a financial person, I had no idea. So if my mother gave me, you know, $10,000 because I didn't earn that, then that could not go into a Roth IRA. So similar example, because it's not earned income that I got from wages. So it has to be wages, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Great. I learned something new too. So thanks, Angie and Kevin, for that. So the next question is, what if something comes up and I can't contribute 1 month? Are they kicked out?
Absolutely not. The account does hold the ability to kind of pause it. So, and you're not going to receive any penalties. You're not going to, nothing's going to happen to the account. It's just going to be paused until you have that ability to pick that back up. Kind of going with this theme of the year, the time of the year that it is, we've had, you know, some savers say, well, what if I want to, you know, stop contributing from like November to January? You know, am I going to be charged? Absolutely not. You would just stop making your contributions for that and for that time period, and then just pick up as soon as you're able to.
Okay, great. So the next question is talking about the penalties, and you just mentioned penalties in just in the previous answer, but what are the penalties to take out the money?
So you're really only going to get a penalty is if you would touch the interest. And there are certain exemptions that you're able to gain access to the interest, and one of those, for example, would be a first-time home buyer. But you know, kind of the general rule of thumb, and it's going to follow those Roth guidelines of an age requirement. The money also has to be in there for 5 years, I believe. And at that point, you know, you can safely withdraw that interest. But until that point, you would want to, unless you have that exemption, and those can be found in that Roth page on our website, to further define those and clearly define them. But at that point, you know, you could potentially get access to that money. But in general, you know, you would want to try to avoid that while you're still in that process of contributing and building into the account.
Okay. And then the next question kind of goes along those lines. You know, you're talking about taking the money out, but for some 401k programs, they have a loan that you can take out against it. So is this set up where you would take a loan or you just take the money out?
You would just take the money out. And there's
That's
two forms. The first way is you could request a check, and then the second way is you could link it to a bank account. And obviously that method would be a little quicker, but you would just take the money out, and then as soon as you're able to start contributing back to the account, you know, you would be able to do that.
Okay,
So it's
great.
really simple. There's no additional paperwork that would be needed, like a loan. You know, so as far as that, that definitely goes to the simple part of the account. So, you know, that is something that's very nice. You know, there's no additional time that paperwork needs to be drawn up and processed. So that's another key factor. And real quick, if I can go back just a second, I did find that exact wording for you real quick on the interest. Any interest earned in your account can only be withdrawn without tax and penalty 5 years after January 1 of the year of your first contribution, and you are 59 and a half or meet certain conditions, such as the first-time home buyer. I just wanted to draw out those specific time periods. So it's 5 years after January 1 of your first contribution and 59 and a half.
Okay, great. So we have some questions that have come in from some financial coaches, which is always great. I appreciate you them participating on our webinars as well. So this question is, do I have to have a bank account? I have clients that successfully use prepaid cards since they are comfortable. So do they have to have a bank account? So I guess the question is, could the deduction come from a prepaid card? Because earlier you were talking about the deductions or how to contribute. So could they use the prepaid card?
If the prepaid card has the ability to have a routing number and account number.
Routing number and account number.
And all prepaid cards are different. Again, I don't want to kind of make a blanket statement. So it would just need to have something that the money could be pulled from. So some of them are set up similar to a bank account with an account number and a routing number.
Okay, great. So we have 7 minutes left, and we still have several questions, so we're going to do like a little bit of a speed round here, and then we can always follow up afterwards with some of the additional questions. So Angie, this question goes to you too, another financial coach question, is what suggestions do you have in starting the conversation with individuals about saving for retirement?
Okay. So we've had a lot of great kind of conversation starters by having resources in your office. You know, we definitely have done the research, and we know that the marketing rule of 7 applies. So obviously what that means is people had been touched many, many times. And so a lot of times it just kind of spawns from having a poster in your waiting room or having a flyer on the table. There's so many great ways. If you send out email communications, you know, and it may not be the first time that you talk about the program that you get that person to kind of take the bite. It might be the second or the third time. And it really, it's going to kind of vary depending upon how often you meet with that person, your relationship with them. You know, there's so many different factors that come into play with that, it really is something that
I hate to say, if you wouldn't mind calling and one of our relationship managers can brainstorm with you, but really better understanding your interaction with your customers and how we can pull in other experiences and what have worked best with those other places kind of just really fits. But definitely the marketing rule of 7 comes into play. Throwing out the word myRA, presenting it in different ways is a huge factor.
Great, thank you. And since we are running out of time, I think this last question is a good one that we'll use, and then the other questions we can follow up with afterwards. But can you explain what it means after tax?
Absolutely. So the taxes have already been taken out of your paycheck. So the best example for this is direct deposit. Everything has been taken out, all your taxes, all your other deductions, and this is your paycheck amount. So after taxes, so you have that bottom paycheck amount, and then of that amount, you want X amount to go to your myRA account. That's probably the best example.
Got it. Great.
It's just, yeah, it's after everything else.
Perfect. All right, excellent. Well, thank you so much. We have 4 minutes left here. I would like to thank Angie and Kevin for sharing this information with us about this other savings option and the importance of looking at retirement and saving for retirement. I would like to remind everyone that if you have not taken the pledge, please take the pledge to help us disable poverty. Disable Poverty is a grassroots campaign which aims to increase awareness about the nearly 1 in 3 Americans with disabilities that live in poverty and remain outside the economic mainstream. Our goal is to decrease the number of working age adults with disabilities living in poverty and to increase the use of mainstream banking products and services amongst people with disabilities by 50%. If you're interested to learn more about this grassroots campaign and how you can get involved, as well as to take the pledge, please go to disablepoverty.org. You can take the pledge, and just note that when you go to the website, you do have to put in your information and then hit submit. Some people have shared that they thought that once they just click on the website, that it automatically means they've taken the pledge. But the thing is you do need to put in your contact information, your name. All right? So please take the pledge. If you're not a member of the Real Economic Impact Network, please join us and go to our website to sign up. If you have questions on strategies to build the financial wellness of persons with disabilities, you can send your questions to ask@ndi-inc.org. I hope you'll join us on January 11th, 2017, as we go into the new year at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, as we will be joined by the Center for Budget and Policy Priorities, as well as the Internal Revenue Service, who's going to provide us some tax time updates as we go into the tax season for next year. So please join us for that as well. I would like to thank my colleagues who are part of the Training and Technical Assistance team at the National Disability Institute who helped put these together, the topic ideas and creating the connections. Also thanks to our colleague Nakia Matthews for putting this, helping with all of the technology pieces to do our webinars each month. Again, I would like to thank Angie Lingle for sharing this information with us today and introducing our network to myRA. I'd like to thank Kevin Nickerson for providing us the key information that we need to keep in mind if we are receiving a public benefit that has a resource limit attached to it. With that, I hope everybody has a great holiday season, and we look forward to seeing you again in the new year at January 11th, 2017 at 3 p.m. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.